If you're an addict or if you're an alcoholic, please watch this video. We have a theory about what addiction is. And just to clarify, alcoholism and drug addiction are both addiction. They're both drug addiction, really. Alcohol, in and of itself, is a drug, the same way that heroin is a drug, the same way that fentanyl is a drug. When we generalize all this stuff, it makes it easier for everybody to learn and get into the same process of not being in addiction anymore. So let's just get all that out of the way. Whenever I say alcoholism or drug addiction, I am referring to the same thing. So it's 2025 now, and treatment for drug and alcohol addiction has been around for about 100 years. It started small, and it started as 12-step groups, and then it's kind of grown into the DSM, mental illness, substance use disorder. It's grown into insurance practices, exchanges of money. It's grown into 30-day stays at rehab, and it's grown into therapy. I live in Florida, and the treatment of drug and alcohol abuse here in Florida, I believe, is the most of any of the 50 states, maybe here in California. My state loves to treat addiction, or attempt to treat addiction. The problem is, addicts themselves and alcoholics themselves don't know what's wrong with them, and they get told, they get misdiagnosed, they get misinformed so that they can exchange money to a service, when in reality, I don't know if you've ever attempted to look at treatment centers, but one thing you will never see on the website of a treatment center is their statistics of how many people stay sober longer than 6 months or longer than a year. You will rarely ever see a treatment center boasting statistics because they all have bad statistics. They all have really high relapse rates. And I know this out of bitter experience. I know this from working in treatment, attending treatment, and being in and around and about many different treatment centers. And it's rare that you will see statistics happen or being shown to you. And I believe that why the statistics are so bad is because we actually, as a society, got away from one explanation of addiction, and we have turned it into another explanation of addiction. So what I'd like to do in this video, and I really hope that you watch, is we're going to talk about a explanation, a diagnosis, an opinion, a theory of what addiction is. And we're going to use a really, really old one, the first one, the one that all of our treatment society and all the insurance companies and all the addicts for the last 100 years have all been based on this theory. And the theory is that addiction is a disease. Alcoholism, which is addiction, is a disease. And it's a disease that affects the sufferer in two areas, one being his mind and the other being his body, in two different ways. Now, this theory, unfortunately, is not like cancer or diabetes, where I cannot physically, scientifically take a study of my body or an image under an x-ray machine or an MRI and prove to you that you have this thing. I cannot do that, and no one can do that for me, which is why nobody can give me a pill, a shot, that can cure my addiction. They can't do it. So the theory is that I have a disease, you have a disease, you're suffering from a disease of your mind and your body, which is one disease that affects you and me in two different areas. So this should hopefully explain the confusing and the baffling and the annoying and agitating effects of drugs and alcohol disease, which is like, I know that I'm going to lose my kids. I know that I'm going to lose my job. I know that I'm burning through money. I know that the repo man is coming to get my car. I know that I owe money to really dangerous people. And I would love to not have any of this to be wrong with me. I want out of all of these problems. And I want to get out of all these problems. However, there I am the next day, the next night, the next morning, back at it like a crack addict. I'm doing it again. Why am I doing this again, despite all of the pain and the suffering and the humiliation and the embarrassment and how bad it hurts my kids and how bad it hurts my wife and how my parents have absolutely no clue what to do with me? why am I doing this again? What is wrong with me? It's like my mind is telling me no, my body's telling me yes. I'm doing one thing that I don't want to do, and it is affecting my entire life, and I cannot for the life of me stop doing it. That's addiction, and it can be really, really confusing, and it obviously just causes suffering at mass. It causes suffering of your family, you, your job, your money, everyone around you. Sometimes even your pets don't get fed because you're just there spun around in addiction. So the first most obvious sign of the disease is that once I put something into my body, I don't respond normally. So the idea is called the allergy. So we know that a person with an allergy is someone who ingests a substance like peanuts, right? So you can take 100 people and you can give peanuts to all 100 of them, and one person will respond very differently than the other 99. And you would say that that one person has a peanut allergy. Why? Because for whatever reason, when that dude eats peanuts, he responds differently. He has an abnormal reaction to the substance, therefore making him allergic. He has an allergy. So when you look at the case of drug addicts, alcoholics, they're ingesting substances that millions of people who are not drug addicts and not alcoholics ingest on a daily basis. We demonize a lot of prescription pills because of the allergic types who cannot safely use these drugs. But in reality, the pills themselves, the medications themselves, are not inherently harmful because they don't cause this allergy to happen in everybody. Just like everyone who eats peanuts is not allergic to peanuts, right? It would be weird for a person with a peanut allergy to be eating peanuts, but that's kind of why drug and alcohol abuse is so screwed up. So if you take 100 people and you give every one of them a pain pill, an oxycodone, right? You give 100 of us a pain pill. 99 of those people will take that pill, probably feel weird and uncomfortable and nauseous and sweaty. And then all of those 99 people will go on about their business. They will make it to work the next day. They will make it to the family barbecue. They will pay their bills. They will forget pretty quickly that they ever even took this pain pill. But there will be one man or one woman, there will be one person who, when they take that pain pill, right, the herd, the 99 goes this way, and then the one guy, the one girl goes in a totally different direction. If you follow that one person with a camera crew for the next 2 weeks, the next 6 months, the next year of their life, it will look very, very abnormal. It will look very different than the other 99, right? Now, we're not even going to get how it looks different yet. But you would say that that person is allergic to pain pills. That person is allergic to that substance. Why? Because they don't respond how everyone else responds. They have an abnormal reaction to that substance. So if you're an addict, or if you believe you're an addict, which is not a good place to find yourself in, because if you start to have the thought that maybe I'm an addict, you probably are, and everyone in your life is probably aware of that, and you're not, which is one of the weird things about drug addiction. If you are this person, or you think you may be this person, you have to honestly look in your life. You have to look back at your history. You have to look back at every time. I mean, that time that you were 12 and you drank your mom's beer, that time that you were 15 and you smoked weed for the first time, the time that you had a surgery when you were in your early 20s because you were playing football, and they did an operation on your knee when you took those pain pills. Did you respond how everyone else responds? Did you act weird? Did you act different, right? For me, the further back I look in my life, the more red flags there are, even down to the very first use of either drugs or alcohol in my early teens, in my preteens. The very first time that I drank, it was red flags. Why? Because in that time in my life, I was probably 14, there was me and maybe 7 other of my friends, all the same age, all from the same neighborhood, drinking the same booze. However, I had different experiences. I was the guy that fell down. I was the guy that drank too much. I was the guy that broke his nose. I was the guy that threw up on myself. I was the guy that got in trouble. And all these other kids, none of that happened to them. And they all looked at me strange. And they all told jokes about me after it was over. But now that I look back, that's alcoholism. That's drug addiction, or at least they are the signs. This feature of alcoholism, the allergy, it is totally untreatable. It is not something that can be cured ever. If you have it to the extent that I do, and many of the people that I have met do, if you have it to that extent, it can never, ever be cured. Why? Because despite any length of sobriety, despite that I've moved into a house or got a car or got my family together or got my job or I have good savings or I've helped people, I've helped other addicts, I got a job doing this in a treatment center, I became part of a church, I did whatever the opportunities that you might get in your sobriety. If you put that stuff back in your body, you're going to react weird again. And it doesn't matter how long it's been. The age-old saying, once an addict, always an addict. Once an alcoholic, always an alcoholic. The idea that I can someday, after I've been to the gym so many times, or after I've been to church so many times, or after I got married, or after I got a car, after I got a job, I can finally do it safely. That idea is a lie. I can never safely do it again. Just like a man with a peanut allergy can never safely eat peanuts. It's part of his makeup. It's part of the way he is wired. It's in his bones and in his cells. There are certain things that certain people can never ingest safely, that is. So as we get into this video series, we're going to talk more about alcoholism, the disease of alcoholism, the disease of addiction. And I hope that you go on this with me because it can very much help you. Thanks.